Hello all, I am visible in my screen.
Yes, Vikrant, go ahead.
Okay, great. Welcome all. Sorry for a couple of hiccups. As Murphy's law go, things will go wrong at the most inopportune moment. So we had a network glitch, and sorry about that. So let us get started. So welcome all to this demo session of battery modeling and simulation training program. And what I will take you through the demo session is the electric vehicle application, how we how we can arrive at a solution for the electric vehicles using different decisions. So let us go through what are those at the outset, and then we will see how we can make those decisions through certain virtual model based simulations. So any battery consists of cells. A unit cell is basically an anode and a cathode with ion conductor, also called as electrolyte, as well as the charged conductor, which is outside the cell, and it flows across the load. So this unit cell basically will make up in a configuration of series and parallel cells will make up a battery pack. And this battery pack will be integrated into the rest of the vehicle. So the battery pack is supposed to provide power to the traction unit or the motor, and also to the auxiliaries like HVAC, if there is a vacuum pump for boosting the brake pressure, in all these uh, in the four wheelers. And then there would also be illumination, which is common across all vehicles. So your headlights, tail lights, brake lamps, indicator lamps, and so on. So all that will be powered by this battery through different conversions. So a motor will require a high voltage DC to either a high voltage DC or a high voltage AC, depending upon which type of motor is there. And then your auxiliaries will require a high voltage DC to a low voltage DC conversion at the minimum. So how do we understand the requirements uh, which we need from this unit cell? So for that, we have to go from the pack level or from the vehicle level down to the unit cell level. How do we do that? So at vehicle level, we would have to do the integration based on the targets, which would be for vehicle performance, for charging and regeneration, and for thermal and aging. And with those considerations, what we would do is have a pack configuration, and then again the vehicle performance requirements will dictate the power and energy, along with the charging and regeneration as well. So these two will determine the power and energy requirements. And then things like charge balancing, this is just an example, will play a role in the thermal management as well as aging. Have to select the chemistry or select the sub chemistry, as we call it, because even lithium ion batteries come in different flavors, lithium polymer, then NMC, and there are many lithium ion batteries as well. So which of the chemistry is best suited, that will be determined on your requirements for energy and power density, for reliability and robustness, and for cost, obviously. So how do we understand these requirements so that we can cascade them down this channel to understand what sort of chemistry and what sort of pack configuration we need? So there are two ways to do that. One is you um, have some rough calculations, then build a prototype, test it, come back with the test data, rework if you have any non-compliances, then go back to the prototype, update the prototype, and do it. So this is an iterative process, and it will take a long time if you work with physical prototypes. So where the virtual model helps is it can save us a lot of this iterations on the physical prototypes by doing a lot of this stuff into virtual simulation. And you can have virtual model of anything, right from the vehicle, the battery pack, and the unit cell. So all three can be modeled, and they can be studied for different aspects of your decision making. And with those results, you can at least move forward in the right direction, in the right orientation, so that you don't have to literally come back and redo your battery chemistry, for example, just because in one of your iterations on physical prototypes, it seems like the one which you have selected is not adequate. So at least these kind of decisions can be taken in a robust manner. And as you refine these models better and better to a higher accuracy, to a higher fidelity, you can base more and more of your decisions on the virtual models itself, where you only leave the final validation portion on the prototypes.
So Vikrant,
Uh,
in your earlier slide, if I have to just summarize for the benefits of participants, there are some questions. Uh,
mhm,
Taking an example, so like for example, there is a three-wheeler, right? And the vehicle specs of three-wheelers from the customer requirements are given.
mhm,
And if this is already an existing three-wheeler, for example, so internally it's some of the battery specs and other things will also be known. So the
mhm.
participants will be able to kind of take those inputs, learn into kind of modeling from the customer requirements to vehicle requirements. From there, be able to design like what kind of energy requirement this vehicle for its configuration and road conditions will require, and that you will further cascade down into the series and parallels of the cells and what types of the cells, right?
Right, right. So I'll answer this question in more detail in the coming slides. So,
Okay,
but yeah, you
great,
are
great.
right. That's how we would go about doing it from the requirements of the vehicle. Now, it's a very good point you brought. Vehicle performance is not just the objective targets that we see under standard test conditions and so on, but vehicle performance requirements are basically what is required in terms of the customer or the end user, and not just the standard validation that we would have. So yeah, there is lot of thought that has to go into what these targets are and what they are based on. Are they based on standard conditions? Are they based on real life conditions? To what extent the real life conditions, in the sense what kind of driver are you accommodating, how much aggressive or mellow driver you are accommodating, and so on.
Sure. So the battery management system, the BMS controller design part of it, Vikrant, in terms of this red and blue diagram, they will be kind of coming into both of them some aspects which will be built in into the virtual battery model, right?
Right. So I always think of controllers as the things which bridge the gap, the final gap between what is the requirement from the hardware and what it is capable of. First, we go through the hardware selection, and we select a hardware which is within the what we call bandwidth of the controller capability. So what I mean by that is my hardware, if it is capable of giving me, say, 200 kilometers range plus or minus 50. Okay. Now it is if my target is within the purview, if my target is say 320 or 330 kilometers, then I will have the controller do the rest of the optimization to move my mean from 300 to 330, for example. However, if I choose a hardware which is capable of only 100 kilometers range, there is nothing the controller can actually do to bring you to 300 or 330. So it is always how much robust is your hardware decision that helps your controller to get you achieve the targets eventually.
Sure, sure. The reason I asked that question, Vikrant, based upon the other inquiries that we receive from globally for this
Mhm.
course with our other inquiries, they have asked like what details of BMS design or coding and other parts that we'll be undertaking in this course. And
Mhm.
so that's what I want to highlight in very early start of the program, that this is not a hardware design course where we will be either learning about how the battery is assembled, or neither we will go into how to actually code the BMS. This course is different. This course will help you look into the EVs as the requirement which you want to run with a battery. So this course will help you select a right battery design, right? Constituting and incorporating all detailed design elements which are practical for you to select a right battery pack for the course. And the second element which Vikrant is highlighting, this course will help you embed those controller design techniques, right? Including regeneration, including charging, including range optimization, including cell balancing, including life balancing, including SOC and SOH, determinants over time and how it will vary, and incorporating them into your modeling and controller design so that you have the know-how of the requirements which you want your software engineer to work when they design the BMS, right? So that
Yeah.
is this course is about. So that's I want to make it very very clear at the upfront, so you have the right understanding. And then with that understanding, when Vikrant is peeling off other layers and explaining how do we go into the details, that I look forward.
Yeah. So very good. The expectation setting is extremely important here. So and that is the purpose of the demo session as well. In addition to what is our mode of delivery and what kind of material we use and all. So this is a glimpse of that. However, as Rahul said, the purpose and theme of the training program is to understand how to integrate the battery along with its hardware and controller into a application of electric vehicle. So the electric vehicle could be any vehicle, that is not a problem. But we do not go in depth, as he said, of manufacturing of the battery or the we do go into some depth of how the battery works, the electrochemical and electrical models. And then we go to the pack level, and then we go to the vehicle level. So, and yes, we also look at the controller. What are the different controller functionalities in the BMS that help you get the best out of the battery while it is working in tandem with other systems in the electric vehicle. Okay. So one of the major challenges that we face in terms of integration of the batteries is we have a huge mass of legacy customers moving from IC engine vehicles to battery electric vehicles. And I've tried to point out in this graph why this becomes a big integration focus is the kind of energy density that is expected out of. And if we look at the battery capacities, that's something which tells us that this integration will have to be approached in two ways. One is obviously trying to find a market which doesn't require this kind of energy density, and it exists obviously. And also look at other business models of how we can still leverage the strengths of the battery electric vehicle to overcome some of these challenges. So you are seeing this graph and you probably wonder why I'm talking about a challenge here, because they seem pretty well matched. But if you notice, the scale here is a log scale, not a linear scale. And the reason why I put a log scale is because on a linear scale, it's hardly visible. The batteries are hardly visible here. And that is why I had put it on a log scale. But now you have the perspective of how it compares in a linear scale. It is literally one order of magnitude off from the energy densities of the liquid fuels. And unless and until we accept and work with that, you will end up setting wrong expectations, and that is that can be extremely fatal to the product. So in terms of the battery usage, so a EV battery will discharge when the vehicle is accelerating or even going at a steady speed with zero acceleration. To maintain a certain speed also you need some amount of effort from the motor. So the motor will run by drawing the current from the battery. Then the vehicle accessories will also be a load on the battery, depending upon which type of vehicle. Bare minimum, if there is a battery cooling, that and illumination, and if it is a four-wheeler or a bus or a truck, they will have other auxiliaries as well, like air conditioning and steering assist and brake assist and so on. So these are the things which will suck the energy out of the battery. And how the battery gets charged? Well, battery gets charged when the vehicle is decelerating. That is regenerative braking or regen braking, as it is called. Then, if the vehicle is stationary and is connected to a charger, whether it's a slow charger at home, or it's a wireless charger, or slow charger at office, and so on, or if it is a fast charger, if the vehicle is capable of charging with a fast charger, so they would have dedicated charging stations, maybe OEM operated, maybe public charging stations, and so on. So this is what will recharge the battery. So how do we understand? Yeah.
Sorry, Vikrant, you completed.
No, I was going to the next slide. So if there is a
Okay. So I just want to make a point to everyone, like this all charge and discharge use cases is something that as part of this program you will learn to model it as a load onto the battery, right? So you will have a battery model, and these are different loads which will be acting on the battery, and that will determine different usage or charging of the battery, right? And that needs to be controlled with the right algorithm and right control design, right intervention, and those things you will be able to model, understand, and see yourself in the course with the right modeling. So that is this course about. It will help you to really understand, like, okay, these are the different use cases. This is how the air conditioning, when it interacts with the battery, puts a load on it. So however realistic we will model the air conditioning load coming onto the battery, you will be able to see like how it impacts the battery, right? And then you will have to design a right control intervention either on the air conditioning cycle or on the battery cycle or combine on both cycles, and see like how you are able to get better and improve vehicle efficiency with all these different loads operating. And that becomes a requirement and also a control design principle that will then have to be coded into the BMS by your software team. So I want you to look into the last slide from that angle, that all these are different use cases that you will learn to model as part of this program.
Yeah. So as Rahul was explaining, how do we model that? I'll just give you a calculation flow. Eventually, we will learn how to make these models in Excel or Scilab or MATLAB Simulink. So based on which tool is accessible and available. So the energy calculations are basically for vehicle. So as we saw in the first slide, we move from vehicle up to the battery. So the inputs that we need for our vehicle model is what is the speed profile that the vehicle is going to follow. Some representative speed profile. It could be a standard speed profile from regulation cycle, or it could be a user profile, a real world user profile that you have identified to be the representative one. And using that user profile, what you can calculate is various forces that are acting on the vehicle, and using those forces, uh, you'll balance those forces, and to get the acceleration, desired acceleration, or maintaining the desired speed, you would have a propulsive force required, and that into vehicle speed is basically the power required at the wheels, right? And power is nothing but energy per time, per unit time. And if you integrate it over the cycle time, what you get is the propulsive energy at wheel. So now this is energy at wheel required to move the vehicle. In addition to that, we would have accessory loads, as Rahul was talking in the previous slide, which will be conditioner in case of buses and trucks and cars. Lights would be there for everyone, and so on. So whatever are the accessory loads, and then of course you also need to account for driveline losses. So there could be a gear drive, there could be drive shafts, there could be CV joints, and so on. There could be even some wheel efficiency. So all of these considered, what you would get is the energy required from the battery. So there will be, when the energy leaves the battery, it's going to get reduced when it is converted to mechanical energy by the motor. Then it further gets reduced when it is transferred from the motor to the wheel, and then from the wheel to the vehicle acceleration, you would have again vehicle level losses, which is rolling resistance and drag. And if it is going uphill, you would have a gradient force as well to tackle with. And whatever is left is actually going to give you the acceleration for the vehicle. And of course, the battery will also continue to drive simultaneously the accessories. So different use cases, again, as we were talking about, there are standard cycles which are used across the globe. US uses a cycle called EPA. There are other cycles as well in US. India has a unique distinction of having a dedicated cycle for two-wheelers and three-wheelers. Then buses tend to have different cycles. So I have just put Delhi bus cycle as an example, but there are many such depending upon various cities and traffic conditions. Then there is this new European drive cycle, which is applicable to passenger vehicles. And then we also have efforts on making, at least harmonizing all the passenger vehicle cycles around the world to one transient cycle, which will be the WLTC cycle. So all of these you can feed into the driver of your simulation model as the target speed, and driving through a PID controller, which represents the driver, both the accelerator and the brake pedal. We can actually simulate the vehicle over these cycles and get the energy required for doing that particular cycle, and then the energy efficiency as well, which is kilowatt hour per kilometer. You could also do the same exercise on real life vehicles, real life data. So you could actually measure different drivers by using GPS dongles, which will give you the GPS location and vehicle speed. You could also use onboard diagnostics dongles, OBD2 dongles, and use to collect the data on vehicle speed at the minimum, and then if you again you can feed this into the driver model in a simulation as the target velocity profile, and you can generate the energy requirement as well as the energy efficiency for that particular real life use case. So as long as we know how to generate the data that is required as input to the driver, which is velocity versus time at the minimum, and then if you have access to the road profile, that also can be put in, and you can actually understand how different routes affect the energy efficiency and the range. how different drivers affect energy efficiency and range, how a mixture of those two can affect the range, and so on.
So I also want to take this point like P Manifold EV Academy. They are already offering another course which both Vikrant and me are teaching, that is on electric vehicle systems engineering, right? So there we actually go into the much detailed aspects of each of these subsystems, including motor modules, brake modules, thermal systems, thermal cooling systems, the entire vehicle model it in Excel as well as in Scilab, and be able to do all this dynamics, right? And be able to study in the model. So some bit of it very relevant to the battery model design will be taken up in this further advanced course, and we will actually be building the further detail about it on the battery controller design algorithms and others as part of this program. But we wanted you to understand when you are making a judgment and selection between two courses, let's say our electric vehicle systems engineering course versus this one. So you could be doing both the courses. So you could be actually doing first our EV systems engineering course, and then actually be taking this advanced course with jumping more into the controller design and building up the project work that you initiated in that first program, and diving into the much detailed aspects of the battery modeling and controller parts. But there is another way, like if you already have an experience and a specific use case with a requirement to focus on the battery, you will actually be learning a shortcut version of the detailed modeling and then taking it as a base, then working more upon the battery part of it. So both are welcome depending upon your objective and where you stand, and we'll be happy to kind of separately discuss with you to understand with your skill set would this course directly can be taken up, or you will be better off taking our systems engineering program and then come to this advanced battery focused modeling and simulation program.
Yeah. So, as Rahul said, we will cover the required portion of the vehicle model. We will not dwell deep into motor modeling and other aspects. We will only focus on a good battery model and a functional vehicle model. A good battery model, we will teach different ways of modeling the battery, right from unit cell and down to the pack, and then even the pack itself, what are the different ways to represent the physics, the transients of how the battery charges and discharges. If you are aware of one of the tests that the batteries are done with our impulse test. So if you supply or if you draw a lot of current from the battery, how the battery transits to providing that current, it's not a step transition. So how we model that. So those things are what we will cover in detail in the course, so that it's not just about the energy, but also how the battery would actually respond to a demand of power and energy.
And one more thing I would want to say that some of the course inquiries that we have received are the people who are well versed in the software design aspects of BMS control design, right? But they have designed it from the coding part without having much granularity, like how this code will actually impact the end use case of the battery and the vehicle performance, right? So there are users, there are experts with that kind of a background as well. So this course is still very relevant for those experts who understand the need from the battery design, but they would really want to understand how it impacts the battery performance, vehicle performance, and end user performance. So this course will allow them to kind of take their knowledge and skills, apply to this modeling and simulation environment, and actually see the effects of those controls overlay on the battery dynamics and vehicle dynamics.
Yeah. So any controller validation, as if there are people who have worked on the controller, not just battery, any controller, the validation requires a system model, a plant model as we call it in controls language. So this will help you not only do a plant model but also understand how to model the controller algorithm, which can eventually be I mean, it is the first type of model based controller development. So you model the algorithms in Scilab or MATLAB Simulink, and you test that with your hardware model, which is your plant model, before going ahead with either auto coding it or coding it manually and implementing it on the microcontroller. So yeah, this is just a glimpse of the vehicle simulation model, just the vehicle model in a tool called Scilab, which is a free alternative of MATLAB and Simulink. So this is very similar to Simulink, as people who have worked on Simulink would observe. And we prefer this in our class so that everyone has access to this tool. Anyone of you can download this tool on your laptops or desktops, and you can install and work. There is no it's a free license, and even if you use it professionally, it's fine as long as any enhancements to the tool, not the model but the tool, if they are done, they have to be in open space. However, the model will be your own ownership. You will have the ownership of your model. So that's why we chose Scilab, but you are free to use MATLAB if that is accessible to you and you are more conversant with it. I have experience in MATLAB as well, so there is not a problem to transition between the two. So basically, a vehicle model, as I said, would give you the first requirement of energy. The example of energy, the same is true with power, the same is true with life, and so on. So how we do it is the way I explained it in the previous slide. You just do a force balance, and whatever is the propulsive force is required, that is what will determine your energy, the power, and then integrating over the cycle will give you the energy, and that energy and then the distance will determine what is your energy efficiency, and it is all driven with respect to what is your target velocity profile to the driver. Some of the energy calculations are done from wheel up to the driver or up to the battery. They are called backward calculating models. However, they are not so useful when you want to study driver to driver differences, because there is nothing called vehicle speed error in that, because for meeting that speed or that acceleration, what is the power required is what is calculated, instead of adjusting the accelerator pedal and trying to achieve that acceleration, which is what we all do when we drive. So it's not a backward calculation in real life. So we also prefer this way to calculate in the virtual models. So that's what I had in this demo session. I hope that provides a glimpse of what is there in this course. Some of the things I also verbally conveyed. The battery models will go much deeper into what are the different models, what level of detail we can build into the battery as well as the battery pack, and welcome. We'll answer those now.
So Vikrant, before we take questions, if you can also quickly talk about briefly the number of sessions, time of this course, particular battery modeling course, and what will be the kind of project work that you envisage participants to go into more details through this program. Maybe that will be useful to initiate some more discussions and questions from the participants.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we would have 3 days a week model of sessions. So in if you have attended any of our past training programs, we would have theory and practical sessions separated. However, in this course, I think it is better to do the theory and immediately try and implement it in an Excel model or a Scilab model. So it will be a hybrid session of theory and practical. We will be running those alternate days of week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 to 7:30 p.m. India time. And we would have a couple of practice sessions on Saturdays, depending upon the need of the batch. We will do practice sessions on, if required, on Excel as well, but we'll definitely do it on Scilab to make people conversant with the tool, how the blocks are used, how these models are created, so that from the next session onwards, they can catch up and start making those models right in the class. And this will help you learn with what we call as experience-based learning. So if we just tell you how to model it, it will not be assimilated 100%. But if you yourself do it, you not only will understand it, you will also be confident of doing it on your own. And that's one of the primary motivations of this course.
So what will be the total duration of this program, Vikrant? Like every week,
Will be,
3 lessons.
yeah, four weeks of sessions, and then we will have a final exam, which will be in terms of a multiple choice quiz. And then we also, as Rahul was mentioning about the project, so we will have project work in which you would have to pick an application. If you can't, we will assign it to you. Application for battery sizing and modeling, and uh, really fitting into the product development, not just for the sake of doing the battery modeling, but it will be tied up to the product development, one of the product development decisions, if not more. And you would have to use the models like your physical prototypes. First model them, then use them to generate relevant data points that will help you make recommendations for that decision. So that is the outlook of the project that we would expect you to take up. And then there would also be assignments for each module. So there are 3 modules. The first module is the battery basics, the second is the controller, and the third module is the simulation and understanding the results. So modeling, simulation, and understanding the results. That's the third module. So each module will have assignment. So there will be 3 assignments, and there will be a week's time to do those assignments. All those assignments will also be focused towards having you understand different aspects of modeling the batteries as well as the vehicle.
And me and Vikrant, we prefer to scare people in terms of letting them know the extent of depth and the hard work and smart work that will be required. And we have a reason for it. Like this is a 4 weeks sharp program for really the people who are not just coming to listen. So it's not a any kind of a podcast you listen, you don't listen, and that's okay. This is a serious learning, and in fact, in our previous batches that we have completed on the other programs, I always at the end I ask the participants like, do we should we cancel the project work? And the unanimous answer that every batch has given us so far in last 5 6 months of our work in trainings, everyone has said, "Okay, sir, this is because of this project work that we have learned so deeply and differently in this program, which otherwise does not happen." So be ready. for the hard work in terms of the assignments, the projects that you have to do with self modeling. There will always be handholding, there will always be support. All questions, any types will always be answered. We will make those extra times to work with you to really get speed up if Scilab is not something that you have worked earlier. But that kind of a hard work from your side is kind of warranted and required on the program. So do keep that in mind, that it's not a podcast short learning program, it's a deep learning program. So yeah, so as I said, like we want to scare you off. So only the filtered hard ones who are really sincere about utilizing the learning from this program will actually help find and meet their objectives with this setup. We do also encourage to also speak to our past participants from our previous programs. If you need, we'll be happy to introduce you to any of them. Our past participants with we have people from global in Africa, in Latin America. We have people coming from different OEM backgrounds who have 30 plus years of background in OEMs, already doing and designing EVs, including, and they are also learning and learning it in a very different form. We have students as well, so like who are like third or final year of your engineering and first time getting introduced to Scilab, but they have also kind of performed quite well through the learnings of the program. So we have a very mixed batch, and we have seen that only because of their hard work and strong reason. I think you should have a very, very strong reason why you want to join this course. First, it takes you big money. It's not a short, low value course, but it will take you into another orbit altogether with your learnings and applied skills on EVs. So that is the kind of forewarning I would say that we would want to give you, and we'll be happy to take more questions now. So let's understand if you have any questions. Swapnil, can you take their questions, or you can, if people can wave their
Yeah,
hands, Swapnil
yeah.
can
We
allow.
can unmute you, and yeah, you can ask them live also, not a problem.
So please introduce yourself briefly and then follow up with your questions. So one question that we have received, Vikrant, is coming from our previous batch participants from Electric Vehicle Systems Engineering program. And with that kind of a background and project work already done, the question is like, what further detailed dive they can expect through this new advanced learning?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, if you are coming off the EV systems engineering course, you would actually now dive deep into how we make sense of the battery and the controller. And EV systems engineering course brought you up to a level where what are the requirements from the battery. Now this course will help you understand how those requirements are fulfilled using the different aspects of the battery pack. Let me go to the first slide. So the electric vehicle systems engineering course went up to here, and that too only in a limited sense. So now from here you would actually go into what kind of battery behavior is required, and how we ensure that we get it. So we will do lot of battery thermal modeling, the battery pack thermal modeling. We will do battery response modeling. We will also do sensitive and then the controller itself will go into details of the functions, and we will actually model all of those BMS functions which were only showed as one slide each in the EV systems engineering program.
Sure, Vikrant. Another question is like I am with a fleet operator who is also getting into the solution space of EVs. I think they haven't mentioned what kind of EVs here, but I am into the product design of the solutions and how this course learnings can really help me dive deeper into a right product design and integration into a EV fleet, and what kind of BMS design I can be expecting to learn through this course.
Right. So the first thing that you would know is that you would learn is what are the functions of the BMS that are absolutely required for you, and what are the good to haves, and so on. So there is a bouquet of functions, and going from entry level two wheelers, where you probably need two or three functions only, up to a high end vehicle, where you would probably need all of those, which we are showing you, and to a greater detail as well, and different mixes of that. So in terms of BMS, that's what you will learn. You will also learn how to use virtual models to tune the BMS. If you are willing to work on an assignment, on a project with that flavor, we will be there to support you on how to go about tuning some of these functions in the BMS to optimize the vehicle performance.
So more questions are flowing in, Vikrant. I think we are having less than 5 minutes. I will just quickly read out if you can be short in your answer. I am a OEM engineer working in ICE space, but transitioning into EV design and development and R&D within the team. Most times I have seen we are relying on vendor inputs on battery specs design, and letting the overall EV performance and warranty kind of getting affected with unknown reliability of enough cycle of user. How is this challenge faced as a system integrator or designer that I can help in my new role in the team, Vikrant? So, particularly talking of vendor sourcing of the batteries, and how, as a OEM internal engineer, I can influence a strong design and specifically with focus on degradation, life, and reliability issues of batteries, Vikrant. So how this
Mhm.
course can be helpful for this participant?
Right. So the performance of the battery is affected by various parameters. It gets affected by what is the temperature it is running at. It gets affected by what is the ambient temperature. It gets affected by what kind of energy and power you are drawing from it, and for what duration, and so on. So we will understand these operational sensitivities of the battery, and for that, what will happen is you would know what to ask the vendor, what data to ask from the battery vendor, for you to understand how your particular product will be affected by these factors. So there are battery designs which are robust, more robust to say ambient temperature, for example, than others. There are battery chemistries which are more robust to aging as compared to other battery chemistries or other battery configurations, and so on. So you will see in market, there would be people who tell you the life we are giving 1,000 cycles life, but then that 1,000 cycles life comes with a caveat, which has to be understood to really know what that 1,000 cycles will translate into your particular application. So and plus they are at what, so what DOD they are, what uh, expected capacity at end of life, and how the aging will happen. Will it be linear, exponential, which way? So all of that will affect what your product will be making the user experience it as. So all these aspects we will understand in this course, and you will know what to ask the vendor to really select the best suited version or best suited proposal for your vehicle.
Sure, that is great. And I think I was expecting this question, but good that it has come. I think there are two or three questions. I am a student, I am a fresh joinee, and will there be any discounts for attending this course? So this let me answer. We as P Manifold EV Academy share the passion of teaching and in the process also learning. So we'll be very happy to kind of understand your personal situations if there are any that is limiting your joining this course, especially the fee part. So there is a P Manifold EV Academy has launched its scholarship. It is online available. We'll be happy to, we request you to go onto the website, apply for that scholarship, and we will consider your request. There are three different kinds of scholarships. One is like the highest is like full course fee waiver. The second is 50% course fee waiver, and the third is 25% course fee waiver. So please do apply with a strong reason. As I said, like your reason of joining this course should be very strong, and that only is the only one thing that can help you sustain the, if I can use the word brutalities that me and Vikrant will kind of have you for this 4 weeks in terms of really learning from this course and making every piece of the money that you would have spent. So please do apply for scholarship program. There is limit on the timelines for application, so I would request applying it in timeline so that we can communicate our decision to you in time. And if there are groups of people, more buddies or friends who are joining together as a group, there are separate discounts for that, and that again our team will be happy to answer. I think that we can just take last question. If it's already 6 p.m., Vikrant, this gentleman seems to be with the system integrator company who are into solar, and now they are getting into the charging business, and they are also looking into using their and leveraging their storage experience with solar into designing a full-fledged BMS and stack for EVs. And he's saying that the entire team seems like he comes from the senior product development team or possibly the lead also, and he's kind of evaluating his and his whole team new learning towards EV exposure and BMS design. So my suggestion to you would be like if there is already some exposure to BMS design and other parts, yes, this would be a right fit, of course, for you. But if not, then possibly going to the EV systems engineering program first, building up yours and your whole team's experience and knowledge in the overall vehicle space and where battery and things makes difference. I think with that understanding, the team will be more ready for taking this advanced version of battery modeling and simulation. But if you or your team would have some experience, which I assume you have with your battery controller and solar module charge controller development, so that I think is good enough for you to really draw very fast learnings from the program. In fact, from your solar load applications and impact on the battery, you would much appreciate, and EV is only another kind of a load on the battery requirement. So I think that you will be able to capture, appreciate fast, and do a very thorough job, including your your project can be actually tuned for this particular work requirement. So that is also a possibility. Uh, is aligned with the work that you are trying to develop. So that we will go an extra mile with you to really ensure that the learned skills are applied to your workplace and appreciated by your employer as well. So friends, with this, there are some more questions coming related to pricing. We'll be happy to answer these questions. We will answer you in particular, knowing that from whom we are getting these questions. But feel free to get to us. You have our WhatsApp number, you have our email address, and you have our I think these two will be good to write to us with any of your specific situation, and we'll be happy to even speak to you in person and guide you for right selection between our multiple portfolio of courses we are offering. So with that, thank you again. There will be another demo round that is scheduled in when is the next round, Vikrant?
Next Monday. Yeah, next Monday.
Next Monday.
28th.
Okay. 28. So I would say that gift yourself and your team a very good New Year skill in lithium-ion battery modeling and BMS controller design, modeling and simulations and broad integrations. And start your new year with a power-packed learning and applied skills. So with that, me and Vikrant and my team, we are thankful for your time today. Thanks for your nice questions, and we remain eager to speak to you and help you with your selection and decision making process. Thank you, friends, and all the best. Good day. Very happy New Year, and look forward to see you during the course. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Thank you very
thank you
much,
all.
Vikrant.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.